The lunar surface soon fell prey to panic. The crowds on TV remind me of the uproar surrounding Avalon 4 years ago. Back then, people had gathered in front of Avalon HQ. This time, though, they were at the spaceport, in front of the orbital elevator with the sparkling Emerald Industries logo plastered on it. In addition to the contents of the medical report, the accusation that Emerald Industries had stifled studies that were inconvenient to them for years on end had caused further mayhem. At any rate, in order to leave the lunar surface and return to Earth, they had to take the orbital elevator managed by Emerald Industries. A three-sided conflict was unfolding between those who had decided it was time to bring down the giant company, the security company subcontracted by the Office in Charge of Public Safety, and the people who wanted to return to Earth as soon as possible. As for me, I tried to go to the General Government Building for Gaznico's call, but the situation was so chaotic that I couldn't reach it. In the end, I returned to the office and gathered information. However, since the lunar surface stock market was closed, the information was coming from Earth, so there was only so much I could do. I could only do things like investing the content of the medical report and tracking the trends of the stock markets on Earth till late at night. Nevertheless, compared to the ruckus it was causing, the contents of the report, though serious, didn't feel like it was such a big emergency to me. It basically said that the old people who were staying on the lunar surface for an extended period of time should leave as soon as possible. So after that, I spent my time answering the calls addressed to the fund. After that, when I woke up from my nap, I saw footage of the orbital elevator on the display I'd forgotten to turn off. What time is it? Stock market opened a while ago. Marco said that, glaring at the display with an unsteady look. It seemed like he hadn't gotten any sleep. The lunar surface stock market has started for the time being. How much did it decrease? It's a 2.7 decrease, but it's slowly going down. 2.8, 2.9%. Is that the largest decline for this year? Moving my mouse around, I opened up the various websites and news sources I had been consulting. How is it going to turn out? Marco asked that. He probably wasn't talking about the stock prices in the future. I saw via the different pages I was looking at that the price of a ticket for the orbital elevator had increased tenfold on auction sites. The first-class tickets were already expensive in the first place, but their price now exceeded 1 million moles each. And people were buying them. I had a hard time believing that. The price of gold is also increasing. It's almost as if a war started. Government bonds are selling like hotcakes too. It seems everybody's avoiding risky investments. So it's basically a typical stock market panic, huh? Just feels too ordinary. Things will probably go back to normal soon. What about the futures? They're being bought little by little. The decline will probably stop past noon. It seems that the prices will recover tomorrow. Is that so? You've read that medical report, haven't you? It's not some sort of epidemic. People's panic is merely temporary. I also had a look at the housing market. Apparently it was still open for business despite the commotion in front of the orbital elevator. The data summing up things like the property information relayed on the net by real estate companies didn't show any significant change from yesterday's values. Gaznica was panicking quite a bit, though. I continued to speak as I leaned back in my chair, stretching the stiffness out of my joints after my nap on the hard floor. Yesterday, he was talking as if the lunar surface had been submerged or something. Well, isn't he reacting like that because he's in the eye of the panic storm himself? Besides, I was pretty anxious for a while about what was going to happen too, you know. You missed it because you were asleep, but at some point the surroundings of the orbital elevator were on the verge of a riot. Well, I won't deny that, but the orbital elevator is functioning properly and there's no plague happening. It's not like they're going to die if they don't return to Earth immediately. This panic is going to settle down, and the economy will run as usual. Even if it will probably simmer down soon, there were some informative things and all that. Informative? I've been reminded that the Advisory Committee on Economic Matters can only do so much. Even if we want to do something, the only thing we can actually do is stare at moving figures. It's a bit worrying to think about how things would go if something actually happened, huh? Maybe it was because we were both born on the lunar surface, or because we only really cared about money-making in the first place. But as soon as we understood that the stock market wouldn't collapse, the tension we felt vanished into thin air. Meanwhile, the display was showing images of desperate people lining up in droves to get tickets for the orbital elevator. It seemed that the line was now over 2 kilometers long, with an estimated 16,000 people currently lining up. The whole thing with the orbital elevator is a little bit worrying. Well, that's because something actually happened. People wouldn't be able to get off the lunar surface right away, right? Yeah, it's obvious when you think about it, but seeing it in practice is a bit frightening. I had already seen black and white photographs of people lining up like that. These images were from a simpler, less civilized time, mostly in underdeveloped Earth countries. Civilization was supposed to have progressed since those times. However, it seemed that the people who lived in the land of dreams had to stand in line and pay lots of money to return to reality. From what I'm seeing on the net, it looks like people are escaping an order of fortune. The richest are going first. Is that because those who have already earned enough money for the rest of their lives have no reason to stay here? Also, even the cheapest tickets cost over 100,000 moles, right? That's blatant capitalism, alright? How are they going to manage with so many people? Marco muttered that to himself before replying to an incoming phone call. I was wondering the same thing. But these people had a place to return to. People like myself and Marco who had been born on the lunar surface had nowhere to go. True, a shady medical report had just been released, but seeing people lose their minds and bolt over that made a feeling of cold indifference well up inside me. You want to go home? Be my guest. I was a bit surprised at myself for thinking that. Was it love for my homeland? I was aiming for an untrodden land, and I had a huge photograph of Mars hanging in my office. The mere thought made me laugh. Hal, they're asking about the protection. So it's business as usual, even at a time like this, huh? Though I guess we're not ones to talk. Who is it and what do they want? It's Harold Brothers. I have a bad feeling about this. A bad feeling? I tilted my head as I repeated that expression. I opened a desk drawer and retrieved a cereal bar to eat as a makeshift breakfast. Harold Brothers was talking about how they can make arrangements to provide a protection that gathered investment companies willing to shoulder the risk of the protection. Right. How much was it again? 30 million moles? Apparently it now costs 20% extra. I took a bite out of my cereal bar and grimaced upon realizing I didn't have any water to drink. They've raised the price. Did someone else enter the market of protection? Maybe the doctor has raised more funds? Given the current situation, there's no way he could have done that. Who is it? A fund? A Perceptive Trade Department of Investment Bank? At any rate, did they estimate that the current commotion would have an influence on the real estate market? I wonder if this will have any long-term influence, never mind what's happening in the short term. After all, houses are durable things. Indeed. The people lining up in front of the orbital elevator aren't all tourists. There seem to be people from this city as well. Since their houses are going to be vacant, they will either be for sale or for rent. But won't they end up going back? After all, the stock market isn't collapsing, and it's not like all the stocks in the market are going to be sold off just because people are running away from the lunar surface. Also, I doubt these properties will sell all that quickly. I guess so. In fact, the real estate market hasn't batted an eyelash, so aren't people being too hasty? Moreover, if Harold Brothers is getting that bold, it probably means that someone else has shown up who's willing to fork over more than 30 million moles. Based on the sum of money involved, this isn't something they did out of reflex. This was definitely a calculated decision. I gave it some thought. I then immediately said, "Put that on hold." On hold? I'm going out to observe the city. That's an ironclad rule when you want to invest in something. Please don't run off to Earth just like that. My home is here. After replying that to Marco's joke, I went outside. Someone somewhere had started buying protection. That was a good sign, but that also meant that I now had to be on my guard. Noon City was filled with an eerie calm. It wasn't like no one was out in the streets, but there were only maybe half the usual people, and Central Station was empty. You could see the floor in the corridor connecting to Clapton Square. Since this was my first time seeing it, I noticed there were ads there too. Clapton Square, which used to be a nest of extravagance and ostentation, was bathed and illuminated in an atmosphere akin to that of the early morning when shops hadn't opened yet. If people knew they'd never be able to return to Earth if they lived here too long, they probably wouldn't get so hooked on shopping. Even those running businesses were glancing at the displays in their shops or at their tablets. Most of them must be immigrants from Earth, so it looked like they were considering when to return to Earth based on the number of years they would work and their salaries. The first thing to enter my vision was the branch office of that company mainly dealing with the real estate loans, spearheaded by this man Dan, who was hairy up to the back of his hands. His booth was open today too, but there were no customers. There weren't many passers-by, so when the restless employees noticed me looking at them, they gasped and smiled awkwardly. It seemed they were more engrossed with looking at the displays one booth over than serving potential customers, though really they couldn't sit and watch the tablets in their own booths. With Clapton Square in such a state, people only ever gathered in travel agencies for Earth or shops offering immigration to Earth for lunar-born people. I looked in on a few more real estate agents to check their state of affairs. After seeing those shops, I bought ice cream from a stand, looking at it as I sat in a chair intended for breaks. Part-timers gave in and checked the news on their tablets, and lots of people in suits were down in the large plaza under the hall, contemplating the displays. It looked like the entire city was in the process of reconsidering its life plans. I thought this was foolish. The world of investment was tough primarily because those things known as protections were usually useless, both in the short term and the long term. I think I said protections when it's predictions. I think that the less knowledgeable about investments you were, the easier it was for you to predict things in the long term rather than the short term. However, no matter the country or the era, within 10 years there was a renewal in the most noticeable companies, and in 30 years, even quite competent companies tended to disappear. Predicting this in advance was extremely hard. If the life of a worker could be toyed with more easily than the destiny of the company they were working for, then figuring out a life plan would be even less certain than figuring out a long-term stock investment. That was why what I saw before me looked no different from a group of people changing their eating habits, because they saw a feature on high blood pressure and adult diseases on TV. In other words, something like a fad. However, these guys entering the market of protection must be capable of thinking beyond that. After all, if they could imagine the lunar surface economy being shaken up by what happened, surely they'd also be aware of the risks involving themselves with an industry as complex as protection. They would just have to buy futures, or put options betting on a future price drop. In other words, I think they did this because they had grounds for that kind of thought process. They weren't that pessimistic, so my guess was that there was some other reason compelling enough to make them consider buying protection directly tied to the real estate market. If I could find out that reason and ascertain for myself that it was right, then I would be able to go further than my rivals. And then I should think about buying protection for the mezzanine and the senior claims, which these banks were convinced could not collapse, hence their ranking being equivalent to that of a national bond. But what could this reason be? Were they seeing a line of 16,000 people leaving the lunar surface and thinking that meant a lot of houses would go up for sale? But as I suspected, such a simple idea didn't mesh well with the massive investments in protection. After all, those 16,000 people lined up for the orbital elevator likely included temporary residents moving out ahead of schedule and tourists. Also sure, seeing 16,000 people lining up was quite a spectacle, but the official census for the lunar surface listed the population at well over 1 million. What we were seeing was maybe 1% of the population, give or take. And if more than half of those were temporary residents or tourists, how many of those people actually owned a house on the lunar surface and would decide to sell it off permanently and never come back? Most importantly, even if they were to flee to Earth, wouldn't they hesitate to sell? After all, real estate on the lunar surface only kept going up. Wouldn't common sense dictate that, even if you went back to Earth, you could still count on the value of your property going up over time? Also, lining up to get off the planet and putting your house up for sale weren't even compatible behaviors in the first place. Right now, the people lining up must be the ones who panicked. Would these people's first thought really be to jump through all the hoops necessary to put their houses up for sale? As I was going through the motions of calling real estate agents and banks holding loans, I felt it would be enough to cool my head. I knew it. Something felt off. However, I couldn't turn a blind eye to Harold Brothers looking to increase their protection by 20%. It was probable that even if they were to buy more from somewhere in the future, something like what happened might occur again. In order to not only accept the price hike, but also buy more, I'd need a solid reason. As I was thinking, staying up to walk around Clapton Square again, I noticed the incoming call on my tablet. A glance showed it was from Risa. Hello. Hal? Sorry to disturb you while you're working. No, it's okay. I was just doing some thinking. Some thinking? Oh my. She sounded a bit surprised, but if she knew what I was thinking about, she'd probably make a face like she wanted to scold me more than anything. So what did you call me for? Are you going back to Earth? I'm not, but it's related to that, yes. I shifted my tablet in my hands and leaned back in my chair. Looks like you're going to have some trouble getting it out. Well, yes, but you were about the only person I could tell. If I can help. Well, that is... Risa faltered saying this. I need you to lend me some money. I'd have been less surprised if she told me she was in love with me. Huh? Money? Yes. I was at a loss for words. I blinked a few times and answered her with a question. How much? 1,000,000 moles. I didn't get it. Wait, was she in trouble again? But even back in the day, 8 years ago, Risa tried to handle all money matters on her own. Noticing I was at a loss for words, Risa continued talking in a self-deprecating tone. I bet you're surprised. Well, yeah. But I need you to lend me the money right now. I should be able to pay you back. What do you mean, should? Since the discussion had turned to business, my tone became harsher. Sorry, but 1,000,000 moles is not cheap, even for me. I know, but I need it right away. What are you going to use it for? Risa was hesitating, but if she was going to clam up at this point, she wouldn't have called in the first place. It's to pay for an orbital elevator ticket. I was begged for it by some people with elderly relatives who are in the scope of the medical report. As you're well aware, ticket prices are through the roof right now. Even if we wait, no one can tell what's going to become cheaper, and Mr. Goznik even said they might stop transportation in order to avoid further confusion. If that happens, the situation will only get worse. I uttered the following words while doing all I could to hold back a sigh of consternation. You know we're in the middle of a panic situation, right? This time next year, people will be like, oh right, that happened. The cycles mentioned in that report will have been established, and the prices for the orbital elevator will be back to normal. I don't think anyone explained that to them, you know? Risa had hit the nail on the head. I shut up. Not everyone is as smart as you or as cool-headed, and that holds doubly true for people who think their loved ones might be in danger. If I abandoned them, who knows where they would borrow money from? We know better than anyone what could happen to someone depending on the nature of their debt, right? So she said, but I couldn't avoid imagining the people who'd come running to her for help, even if I wanted to. Yes, the stereotypical rich idiot did exist, but there are stereotypes among poor people, too. That was because people who understood their situation and possessed good judgment might well be able to escape the trap of poverty. I remember what happened 8 years ago, when I was burdened with a situation similar to Risa's request right now, and I went to see Barton. Barton curtly refused my request to shoulder a debt. I thought it was cold back then, but now that I was in the same situation, I reacted 100% the same way he had. Money doesn't grow on trees. You shouldn't throw it around based on clumsy decisions and mind-numbing nearsightedness. My face twisted, not in anger at the people who ran the whole sea to Risa for help, but in frustration at myself. Most of the things that lay in store for me had already happened to Barton. He was a great man. Moments like these forced me to come to terms with that. Hal, I know I'm asking the impossible, but I can't. I'm not saying I can't pay you back. Yes, but during this time the capital will be locked. This is the same as a loss. I'm aware my words are cold. Conversely, I can say where I am now because I've never done something like this. You told me yourself. Not everyone can behave like you, Risa. Just saying those words made me want to puke blood. I think maybe this came across to Risa since what welcomed me was not anger or contempt, but silence. Besides, what kind of work do they do? Do they have a steady job? They don't. They were swept up easily in panic because of the sort of people they were. What's their income? Do they have assets? Just wanting to pay back a loan doesn't give them the ability to. After all, at the end of the day, a ninja was a ninja. Something born from the mysteries of the East, and that only existed in people's imaginations. If by a stroke of luck they had a property that had a price rise, then things would be different. When I thought that far, I realized, what if they had a property that had a price rise? So that's what it's about, huh? Risa's question brought me back to reality. No, that was just me thinking aloud. Also, I wanted to ask you, what? Could it be that they have assets? Yes, they do, but I don't really know if it's a good thing to have them use it as collateral. It's a house, right? Hal? I see, so that's how it is. It's been like that before, so it must be the same again now. What would one do to pay off bad credit card debt? What would one do in reaching the limits of a car loan? In the first place, what was the method one relied on when reaching the limits of a real estate loan? There weren't many people leading average lives who had 100,000 moles to their name. People who earned a fair sum ended up spending a fair amount, and people who didn't spend their money invested it rather than keeping it as solid cash. Which meant when they are cornered, they only had one method to rely upon. They must sell their possessions. Hell, these people have tried a lot of things, but you can't just up and sell a house. My thoughts were brought back to reality. They could go somewhere, yeah, a second-rank bank. There, they could use their assets as collateral to borrow money. If its price has gone up compared to when they bought it, they should agree to lending it at least the price of the ticket. But hell, they finally managed to get these houses, they can't just... One could also think that they should get rid of them while they can. Huh? Risa, have you even thought about how they managed to buy their houses in the first place? What? She hadn't. No income, no job, no assets, or for short, ninja loans. They bought their houses with that kind of loan. Do you think they feel a moral responsibility for that? I can only do that much. I don't care if you hate me for that. Hate you? But hell, what are you talking about? It's true, and this is exactly what I stopped in my tracks and closed my eyes. What I am betting everything on. Understood. I'll try doing that. A second-rank bank. Call Marco and ask him about which banks are keen on real estate assets. He should tell you. I have some things to do. Sorry to spring this on you out of nowhere, and not for thinking about your circumstances. It's okay. Besides, this call should end up bringing me a lot of money. Maybe I should bill you for a cut of the profits. I don't mind. Okay, talk to you later. Thanks. I hung up after hearing that one word and let my mind start working. Since she was talking about 1 million moles, that meant there must be several people trying to do the same thing. If this was the reaction of more than one small segment of the population, and if several others involved in the market also thought this was the reaction of more than one small segment of the population. I punched a number into my tablet to start a call. I got rejected a few times, but it connected on the 4th try. Thank you for calling New Age Development. Please use our automated voice guide. I followed the stereotypical guide and selected about selling a house. Connecting you to an operator. After a short time on hold, I was connected to a call center built in what was probably an impoverished country somewhere on Earth where labor was cheap. Now, he should be able to identify this based on the lag between the calls, because this was made painfully clear earlier on in this game, and I want to say the second game when we had to talk to the loan shark. I can't remember his name at the moment. And I am so tempted to do this in a Punjabi accent, but some people might get offended. Thank you for calling. May I inquire as to the nature of your call? I would like some information about selling a house. My apologies, we are not accepting any inquiries related to the purchase or sale of real estate properties. You're not? Because of a news release the other day on Earth, we are currently pausing one part of our operations. If this inquiry is about a loan, we are accepting these in another service. Sales and purchase operations are scheduled to resume in a few days, but currently... Understood. Thank you very much. I hung up the phone, and after doing a bit of thinking while biting a corner of my tablet, I called once again. It wasn't connecting. This time, the call went through on the 6th try. I also followed the automated voice guide, but changed which option I took. Thank you for calling. May I inquire as to the nature of your call? It was so similar that I thought it was a program or something, but the voice was clearly not the same. I uttered these words. Something about purchasing some property. Are you, like, open for business? Of course. Which city of the lunar surface are you thinking about? Is the property you're looking to purchase? I hung up the phone. Just to be sure, I called another real estate agent. The result was the same. For calls concerning a sale, they explained that they weren't performing sales or purchases, but they would accept calls for a purchase. It was stupid to even think about the why. It was because everyone was rushing to sell, because they thought that the real estate market might plummet in the near future. Still, when I called up the data on my tablet and looked at the latest state of the market, I saw that the prices hadn't changed. The market hadn't dropped. I poked at my head a bit with the corner of my tablet. Think about it calmly. Something's weird. I'd seen this pattern somewhere before. Then I remembered. The pricing of the protection in the raw data for the real estate market. So that's how it was. If you couldn't sell, then no one could tell you how much it was really worth. Once the price was set, they would have no choice but to acknowledge the price drop. However, if one thought this whole uproar was just a temporary thing, then the wave of sales would subside if they just observed silently without actually purchasing or selling. If people calmed down, then a drop in price wouldn't occur, and the days of soaring prices would return. That must be the plot. But was that really right? Could this situation really be dealt with using such a temporary stopgap measure? If I were to be asked for my opinion, I would say I thought it was right, that everything surrounding that medical report was just a temporary wave of panic. But this phone call might very well be indicating the opposite. Because if they really thought it was a temporary problem, then they'd be dealing honestly and performing sales and purchases up front. After all, where there were sales, it was possible to beat down the prices, because if they thought prices were going to rise, then now was the right time to start purchasing. Why didn't they do this? The answer was simple. Wouldn't everyone in the real estate business think deep down that prices were unrealistically high, and get scared witless that the slightest trigger might cause everything to collapse? Which might be exactly why they've been shoving all these worries to the back of their minds and acting unnaturally optimistic. I checked the auction sites on my tablet. Ticket prices were shifting between 13 and 14 times the norm. It was higher than when I checked in the office. It seemed that the line at the orbital elevator ticket window was now 2.5 kilometers long. The longer the line got, the higher unofficial ticket prices would go, and the harder it became to get a ticket, the longer the line would get. Which in turn would increase the number of people needing to get their hands on funds, which would cause a lot of people to cancel their purchase, as well as resulting in a lot of houses going on the market. And following the law of supply and demand, what had been put on sale would certainly face a price drop. I murmured this deep within my heart. This might be a variation of the Gamma Trap. There really was a lifeboat over there, but if everyone tried to get on it, of course it would sink. No, wait. Don't rush to conclusions. I repeated this to myself and drew a deep breath. This was still merely hypothetical, but I did have a very important hint. New Age development was accepting property purchases, but refusing to deal with sales. The operators for purchases and sales were probably in different locations, and there would be nearly no customers calling both at the same time, so that deception might work for a while. I just remembered about Avalon. Back then, Eleanor said this: if you do something like this even once, that means others have definitely been doing it. Alright. I headed for New Age Development's office. I once traveled to the far end of the lunar surface to look for a non-existent power station. This should be nothing. I started walking fast, then trotting, and finally ended up running as fast as I could. I hadn't done much running for a few years now, so when I arrived at my destination I was out of breath. But as soon as I beheld the sight there, a smile spread across my face of its own accord. I'm such an idiot, I thought. Damn it, I missed my chance to read this because I got knocked off screen. Really, I'm such an idiot. A big idiot. Is there a way to zoom in on this? You probably heard me knock the mouse, too. I yelled with a loud voice. The office where New Age Development was installed. It was dirty and disorderly, but full of life. At the moment, the lights were off. Temporarily closed was written on a piece of paper on the glass door, and what looked like sales types were gathered in front of it with bewilderment on their faces, calling someplace on the phone. Upon seeing me, they looked surprised. The place was empty. The administrators and people close to them had run away. The people in the thick of the real estate investment knew. They knew that this market on the lunar surface was abnormal, and that the slightest trigger could cause it to collapse. With the help of salespeople, it would be possible to keep up appearances for a while. Just like snakes or insects could keep on living for a while even after their heads had been cut off. I don't actually think a snake can do that. Some insects supposedly can. I've never tried it myself. Don't plan on it either. It would take a few hours before people around the world noticed this. If I was to outwit them, it was now or never. I tried to call the number on my tablet and noticed my hands were shaking. Damn it, calm down. You're the hero of the lunar surface, right? I couldn't prevent a smile from creeping onto my face, thinking of how much this was like a scene out of one of those hot-blooded comics for young men. A scene where someone would hold out their right hand, repeating the words, calm down, to themselves. I was kind of hoping he'd yell objection, but somehow, though, this made me happy. This excitement made me happy. Because I was surrendering myself completely to the core of investment just like I did 8 years ago. I was calling my sales contact at Harold Brothers, and as I expected, they picked up on the first try. Ah, I was expecting you, so did you consider... You'll be happy with a 30% increase, right? I'll buy everything. Also, I have a favor to ask. I stressed my words, speaking slowly. I also want the protection for CDO, mezzanine, and senior claims. What? That was it. Calling dibs. Back then, I could not bring out any direct profit from Avalon's collapse. But right now, I was bearing witness to the collapse of something on the same scale as Avalon, if not bigger. And in the world of investment, it was possible to bring out profit even from the market's collapse. If I wanted to make a living via investment, I should have poured everything I had into it back then. Of course, I also want all the protection you can get for junior claims. My budget is... I braced myself and tried to say it, but one pang of worry went through my mind and I stammered. My remaining budget was 140 million moles. If I poured all that into protection, there was a possibility of returns above 100 times. This was a once-in-a-lifetime bet, and there was no reason not to place it. But the worry that crossed my mind for 1 second was this. Could these guys actually pay that much lost money? 100 times 140 million moles. We were talking a budget on par with that of a small country. There were two things a gambler must never do. Never suffer a loss so bad that it took away everything you had for your next bet, and never win so big that you crush the casino. If one couldn't be paid, then victory was meaningless. I thought about this for a brief moment, but shook my head and reconsidered. Major investment banks all had, without exception, total assets numbered beyond tens of billions of moles. Otherwise, they would never realistically take up bets. I took another deep breath and uttered the following. My budget is 140 million moles. I want you to buy as much as you can. In the next few hours. While everyone was gathering to go back to Earth, I would take flight to leave the solar system. I finished my conversation and glanced at the quiet, unlit office. The shaking in my right hand had stopped. The office was quiet. It had been something like 5 days since the medical report had been released, and the media coverage wasn't losing steam. It was intensifying. Many research results that had supposedly been hushed up by Emerald Industries are being dug up right now. A series of conditions grouped together and labeled as low-gravity syndrome were supposedly causing severe impact on respiratory and circulatory systems while under the influence of Earth's gravity. The media was covering more and more of such cases. Basically, the older you were, the stronger the impact was. It was said that if you were past your 40s and had lived on the lunar surface for more than 10 years, you'd be in quite a predicament. It even affected young people, if they had been in... one second. Yeah, my throat went to hell in the last 10 minutes. If they had inherent deficiencies in their heart or lungs, it could be potentially life-threatening. It was said that if you were born on the lunar surface, even if you were completely healthy, your odds were borderline around the age of 30. Beyond that, the pulmonary system would not be able to take on the Earth's gravity, which would in turn cause dire respiratory troubles, or other serious dysfunctions in the circulatory system. Even a first-gen like me had already lived here for 25 years. In 5 years' time, I'd no longer be able to go to Earth. It felt like one of those fairy tales where someone who had dreamed too much became unable to return to the real world. Though, when thinking about it, the most affected by the panic wave would be Earth-born people reaching middle age and above. That's because the people above 40 who had held out for the past 10 years on the lunar surface, and who had made something of their lives, had so much money they would never be able to use it all. There was no way for them to die without using it, and if there were buyers for tickets, the price would go up. But in addition to those who would want to buy tickets while they were cheap, people would also line up to resell them. This would further increase the scarcity value and cause a vicious circle. Now, I've always heard this referred to as a vicious cycle, but it's essentially the same thing. With people being shaken by the uncertainty between dying on the lunar surface or dying in one's homeland, there was no telling how far things would escalate. Right now, the price had soared to 22 times higher than usual. On the other hand, I was done buying a little more than 240 million wools worth of protection. Given the sheer amount of money, the salesperson at Herald Brothers had given it his all. So I'm not sure where this number came from. Could be a typo. He had thanked me many, many times, and his wife had given me a courtesy phone call. She must have thought that this year's bonus was guaranteed with the income from the handling fee. I wasn't sure how to take that phone call. After all, what I had bought, and at a cheap price too, was the rope to hang them with. Some people want protection. What do we do? It's at 3 times the buying price, though. Marco had put some bank or other on hold, and from his tone, I wasn't sure whether he was happy about it or not as he said these words. I was guessing he'd feel the reality of it. Don't worry about that kind of pocket change, I said simply. Marco shrugged as if he had been scolded, but he looked exactly like a kid who had too much money and was surrounded by people who looked like thieves. He apologized to the other person on the phone and calmly ended the call. But it is possible that nothing will happen, right? He said that in a low tone as if waiting for a sign from me. 3 days ago, a real estate fund belonging to Bull Stairs went bankrupt, right? The real estate market is done for. As I said this quietly, he looked even more ashamed than he did when I scolded him for a big mistake. Of course, I wasn't even thinking of scolding him. He probably just couldn't handle the stress. Besides, next week or the week after, all financial institutions are going to be holding their earnings announcement. That uproar on the market is bound to have an impact on their balance sheets. And upon seeing this, the speculation fever on real estate should sink even further, and might even wither altogether. I was glaring at the display, showing the news as I said this with a groan. Deep down, I wasn't feeling too different from Marco. No matter how much of this disturbing news I saw broadcast, I couldn't register the reality of what was happening on the lunar surface. What was happening before my eyes was, through some butterfly effect, turning into a torrent of cash overwhelming my bank account. I could not make a concrete image out of what exactly was happening. After all, it was a sum of money 100 times bigger than my initial bet. There was no way it should feel real. Which is why I was pointedly waiting in front of my display. And then the phone rang. 1 ring, 2 rings. Marco looked towards me with a stiff expression. I picked up on the 4th ring. Hello, Schweitzer Investment. I'm calling on behalf of E.J. Rochberg. We have just transferred the insurance money relative to your contract, so please confirm that everything is in order. If you have any questions, please contact your sales representative. That was all. I looked at Marco. Marco typed a bit on his keyboard, then opened his eyes wide. They did it. The transfer. He made a hard gulping sound. 22 million moles. One more phone call. Yes, Schweitzer Investment. Hello, Platinum Smith here. The insurance payment has been made, so please confirm on your end. As I motioned Marco with my eyes, he nodded. He mouthed numbers 1 and 4. Another call. Yes, Schweitzer. This is the Mirror Wrench Finance Division. I am calling about today's payment of insurance. 9. Bull Stairs here. 23. Bank of the Moon. 18. The last call was the last place I had called. This is Harold Brothers. Okay, I'm gonna try to see if my voice can hold out a little bit longer. Hello. In only a matter of days, no, hours maybe, the news got out right after I sold to you, after all. The other person on the phone muttered, then laughed dryly. Well, I for one have made a fair amount of money thanks to you, so I'm quite thankful. I guess such a feat is the mark of a hero. Marco looked at me and nodded. 76. So, you won your bet. I will be counting on you again. As I hung up the phone, Marco stood up and raised both hands. We've already made it at 150 million moles. We can already repay the loans. Unbelievable. This is just the beginning. You'll see. I said this in a completely cool tone of voice, but I couldn't repress a smirk at the corner of my lips. New Age Development had gone bankrupt. They said that while they were selling loans to Ninja, they were taking huge loans of their own to take real estate positions. It was just like a drug dealer doing his own drugs. They were allegedly turning all their incoming cash into real estate, so when it became clear they had to run away and the bailiff came and broke down their office's door, their main bank account had already been emptied and the company could not continue their operations. Normally, for money borrowed in order to invest, you needed collateral. Since Dan and his guys were using real estate as collateral to borrow more money and investing that again in real estate, the value of their collateral dropped along with the real estate prices. Additional collateral was requested of them, but they couldn't follow up. If this was a stock company, at this point, liquidation procedures would be forcefully engaged, their bank accounts frozen and their transactions stopped. A typical case of sudden death, which you'd see happen in the market from time to time. Dan, the CEO, and his bunch had sold 500 million moles worth of these real estate loans to banks, built only with their own calculations, which had now all collapsed. Out of the blue, the junior claims of ABS and CDO securities made up of these loans, acting as a breakwater, collapsed. Consequently, I received payment from the insurance I had on these junior claims. However, this was merely the forerunner of a huge wave. If the industry as a whole refused price positioning on the real estate market, it was because everyone was in the same situation as New Age Development, using real estate as collateral to borrow money, then investing in that real estate. It was like trying to build a ladder to reach the stars. The higher you went, the harder you fell. With the real estate price drop, a chain reaction of tremendous actualized losses occurred. Once they were requested to fork over more collateral, all of their ready money would be sucked up, and they would be condemned to death by suffocation. Because New Age had collapsed, even people who somehow managed to put up with the current state of things would soon see all of their assets put on sale. After that, it would be game over for them. It would be on a scale beyond even 10 times the loans. The market price would certainly drop. Then the conclusion they would reach is that they must sell before the price drops, faster than anyone. And to reflect that fear, even though the real estate market had recovered for the first time in days, the data indicated that it had just taken a sudden fall as if it went through the bottom. In this situation, starting with Ninja unable to pay the interests, people who had subscribed to a debt expecting the real estate price to rise would be in a bind. The more time passed, the more loans would collapse, the more properties would be put on auction, which would cause further price drops and collapses. I had won my bet. I won. Once the next wave comes, every phone call will bring its own profits, just like that. Just how far will it go? Don't get unattentive. It's also possible the market trend will revert out of the blue. Besides, our profits are someone else's losses. With such a huge loss, the economy will certainly end up in big trouble. And that is true. That's the situation that a lot of the world economies are currently in. So, yeah. Like, I don't know if the author's going to speculate on when things are going to rebound, because it's been something like 10 years now and it still hasn't. Or so I said, but it seemed like Marco was not listening to me at all. As he was rummaging through the space under his desk, he brought out a bottle of champagne. Aren't you too young to drink? It's just juice. It's just juice. Marco said this as he was going to fetch glasses. I heaved a sigh, but he had no intention of stopping. The hellish landscape of the collapse of the real estate market was being displayed on the channels that focused on investment information. But in the end, this was merely a problem within that market. Even the things I had lectured Marco about, if asked how serious I was about them, I'd be hard-pressed for an answer. After all, the banks issuing the ABS and CDO must be raking in insanely huge profits, enough to make your jaw drop just for the purchase handling fees. Even if they paid Dr. Wallace or me the insurance money, they'd still have pocket change left over. Just then, the phone rang again. At that instant, what crossed my mind was the thought, how much will I earn this time? I was a bit disappointed with myself, feeling like a kid anticipating presents as I picked up the phone. Yes, Schweitzer is my name, you know. I distanced the receiver from my face, then shrugged before bringing it back to my ear. Yes, Yoshiharu Kawara speaking. Am I the first one to call to congratulate you? Yes, since I have things set up so that all phone calls about financing offers get sent to voicemail. Oh my. So it seems like I will avoid ending up penniless. Be sure to prepare a very large accounting book, otherwise you won't be able to fit all the figures in. Just what are you going to do with all that money? Eleanor chuckled impishly, and from the other side of the receiver I could hear the sound of her finger flicking a glass. It's nighttime over here, so let's have a toast. Marco has prepared champagne. Wait just a sec. Oh my. Could you please put him on the phone for a moment? Marco had just come back with 2 glasses, so I threw the phone at him. Marco blinked in confusion as he caught it. As he put the receiver to his ear with a puzzled expression, he straightened his back and glared at me. I laughed, rotating my chair before using my own tablet to call a number. They must have been able to catch their breath by now, too. After the 3rd ring, they picked up. Your phone call lacks intact. I meant to congratulate you. Did you forget? I remember telling you that ties only deepen when one turns up losses. Wallace said that, stifling a laugh. He had fought before me in a more daring way, a far more lonely battle. He was the king of pessimism, after all. How's Maria? She just went to buy champagne glasses. Seems she didn't think I'd actually win. Well, I for one am surprised you'd prepared champagne. Well, Risa admonished me. Risa? She said that just as we share our suffering, we should also share our joy. Just what kind of lecture did she give to the king of pessimism? I could only imagine. One thing was for sure, though. It was worth a laugh. I stood up from my chair and took a glass from Marco's hands as he reeled from Eleanor's lecture, his expression stiff. Then I went and opened the champagne bottle on Marco's desk before pouring myself a glass without asking. There was probably a cooler box under his desk, and I ended up laughing at the fact that it was spooled properly. Are you still there? I asked this of the person on the other side, and then the answer came. Yes. I guess the time when the Grim Reaper will come for my soul is close. Well, at any rate, what I just got are paper cups. Wouldn't he just happen to live some 40 more years? As this thought crossed my mind, I gave one champagne-filled glass to Marco as he was still being lectured. After that, I raised the glass to the height of my eyes and gazed at the beautiful golden liquid filled with bubbles. To the king of pessimism. To the hero of the lunar surface. When faced with an uncertain future, and no matter what their surroundings would say, one would invest accordingly to what they had seen, heard, and the results they had reached through careful thinking. No one could know what those results would turn out to be, which is why the sense of omnipotence born from victory made one think they had become a god. It was probable that the only ones made to have such a huge bet on protection were Wallace and myself, as well as a few smart guys who jumped in on the last few days. If there was someone who wasn't stingy with the insurance money and was in possession of protection along with the securities, then they must be heaving a huge sigh of relief at their own precautions. Right now, those who had been stingy must certainly have been looking like crazy for protection, the price of which had just gone up. They'd be faced with the risk of tremendous losses, all because they'd been stingy with their pocket change. For someone to win, someone else had to lose. That was how the world worked. But let's not think about that right now. Let's just enjoy our victory to the fullest. I glanced at Marco as Eleanor's scolding continued. At this instance, I was back to my mischievous kid self and gestured at him to hang up on her. Marco, who was still a full-blown mischievous kid, seemed to have understood my gesture and weaseled his way out of Eleanor's lecture, ending the phone call. I would bet the high-class lady on the other end would be shocked, but I also had a feeling she would laugh. I took a deep breath, my chest still swelling with pride, and spoke. Cheers. And thus, I was finally standing on the golden path leading to that untrodden land I've been dreaming of since I was a boy. I had finally done it, and realized the dream my heart was yearning for, a dream that had no need to be rationalized. Now, I had one last dream to fulfill. It was to look for Agana from the peak of this golden mountain. This time, I wouldn't let things go the way they did with Avalon. I would use my success to its utmost limit to find Agana. I should be able to find her, for sure, because I had accomplished my dream.